Hello.
How's it, Mandy? How are you?
I'm very excited. How are you?
Awesome. Did you panic there for a minute when you
I
when you could
did.
get on?
I didn't know what was going on, but here I am and happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So I hope everybody has got a cup of coffee, or like in my case, water, and we're gonna have a really interesting chat with Mandy. So Mandy, maybe just to get going, as I mentioned to you when we were saying, a lot more people will be watching this on the replay. So I just want to say to everybody who's going to be joining us on the replay, welcome, and I hope you enjoy this. But maybe just to kick off, Mandy, you can just to tell everybody a little bit about, who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. That's easy. I am Mandi Fine, and I'm the founder of Fine, which is a strategic consult. But my background is a science one. I'm a physiologist. I have a master's in physiology. But I gave my parents a tough time because while I was studying science, I had this love of communication, and I also wanted to study drama. And they were like, well, you've got to, in those days, you had to pick an art or a science. And it was very difficult for me to do. And I refused to choose one of those paths. And so I studied drama while I was doing my science degree. And the convergence of that art and science is where I find myself today. So I'm very happy that I was the obstructive child, because I think in today's world, this convergence is more relevant than ever. And so I'm very excited that it puts me in a place in the world where we can be creative with data and science. And those skills have served me well. So that's
Awesome.
A little bit about who I am.
Awesome. So we're gonna get into this topic now and have a chat about that. But I just want to let everybody know, my interest when I saw an article that Mandy had done, at Future Work IQ, the talk that we do entitled "The Skills That You or Your Business Will Need by 2020." And when I saw this article, I thought to myself, wow, look, Mandy's talking the same language as we are. Best I reach out to her and we have this discussion. So that's really how this came about. And in this talk, what we do discuss is all the data is showing that there are basically two skill sets. And what's really great is you've just described exactly how this must work. So we'll get into the conversation. So the two skill sets are data analytics and what is known as creative intelligence, which has under its little umbrella things like complex problem solving, creativity, etc. So Mandy, you wrote a few weeks ago, a piece entitled,
Yes.
A Fine Balance Between Science and Creativity. Now, I must tell you, I was thinking, did you think through that title quite carefully? Because I noticed you slipped the word fine into that.
Well, and fine's become very much a part of our lexicon. So, yes, I have to say that it was strategically considered.
Awesome. So tell everybody a little bit. I am going to put the link to this article, by the way, into the comments once we finished our chat. But tell us a little bit about what the premise was of that piece.
I think the catalyst of the piece was I was very honored to be invited to judge at Cannes in this year, in June in 2017. And I was asked to judge on the farmer jury at Cannes. We can talk a little bit more about that, but the insight that I got from being on the world's kind of most creative stage and to be able to judge the world's top communication reaffirmed for me the importance of this convergence of science and creativity. And as I said, it's been a path of mine, or it's always been my path. So being there and being on the world stage and understanding how data and science come together, it reaffirmed and opened my eyes as to the fact that in this moment today, this convergence of these skills is more important than ever. And obviously, I was exposed to, obviously in Cannes, tech rules. There's a big debate about whether it's still an advertising festival. The beach is overrun by Google and Waze and Facebook and every tech company on the planet. And ad agencies don't have the budgets to feature anymore. But what's very apparent is the way that the lines have become blurred between where an idea stems from, and is it an agency that creates creative communication? Is it a tech company? Is it a consultancy? Is it a client? Is it the IT department in a client's business? And we found ourselves at Cannes having this constant debate about where the idea emerged from. Actually, it's not really important where the idea emerged from. I think what is important is that we can push the boundaries of communication through being much more collaborative in our approach and not being so purist about
So there we go. We just lost. No, we're back 100%. So Mandi, tell me, you know, in the article you spoke about the status quo. So in the past, what you had is you had you know, the creative agencies which when they hired people, they would hire just creative people, right? Yes. And then on the technology side, you had the same thing. You know, on the technology side, these bright data analysts would be hired, these technology people, but in fact, because of where we are in the world at the moment, you actually, you know, the creative people need to hire data analysts, and on the technology side, they need to get creative people.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that happen in not in our clients' environments as well, and also in environments like consultancies. We're seeing large consulting firms buying in design shops because they realize that they're very, very good at producing beautiful PowerPoint analytics slides, and their presentations to their clients are very data rich and heavy. But in the world that we live in, where communication is fast and quick, telling a story about that information in an engaging and quick and communicative way requires the skills of what an agency used to do or does. And agencies are realizing that in order to understand their clients' businesses, they're provided with wads of information. And we know so much about customers today. We know, you know, if we just think about Facebook and how much we can understand about who we are and what we're doing, agencies have to get much more familiar with analyzing data so they can understand a client's customers. And so we see this graying of lines and everyone needing kind of both sides of the brain.
Right. And tell me, you know, just from your sort of experience over the last while, how important do you think it is for companies to bring both skill sets into their organizations, whether they actually recruit those people or actually bring consultants or whatever in? How important do you think it is to have the creative element and the sort of scientific data analytic element inside your business going forward?
I think it's critical whether you work with partners who bring those skills into your business, or whether you bring them, you buy them in, and you recruit them. I think what we're seeing in our clients' businesses is that those clients that are very siloed and usually bigger, larger global corporations, IT, where there's marketing, where there's sales, where there might even be some digital streams, when they don't converge around a table, literally, and brainstorm and work projects as multidisciplinary teams, they're never going to get to innovation. So. Right. we work with some clients that are just superbly innovative, and the trend is in project teams to make sure that you have an IT person, a data person, a storyteller, a someone who's able to visually liberate data, often into dashboards and simple communication for customers. So, you'll think about what you receive that's very, in newsletter forms, that's very dashboardy around your own data. Those things are becoming so important in our clients' businesses. So, and not only to bring the skill in, but to merge the skill in the way they work internally, and to break down the siloed mentality of who's on a project. And let's get IT to go and look at who our customers are, or to bring us the data into marketing, and then we'll look at it and come up with a creative campaign. It's not going to work anymore. I think that's not the world we're living in.
So Mandi, I want to just talk a little bit about something else, which I think you will really enjoy. You said to me that this was a piece of what you've been doing of late that's been really exciting. Now, you've been judging stuff on the award scene for a bit, right? You've done the global awards.
Yes, I was in New York for that, and then Clio's and Cannes this year. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about Cannes. What exactly is Cannes, for those who perhaps don't know?
Okay, so Cannes is like the Oscars of advertising and communication. It is literally in Cannes in France, on the French Riviera. And when you see all those movie stars on the red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival, that's exactly where the Cannes Advertising Festival is. And the red carpet's there, and it's as bling and exciting as it looks. That said, the judging process for me was very onerous and yet incredibly inspiring and exciting. What happens is that companies, and I would have said agencies in the past, but now I'm going to say companies because of the blurred lines, submit their best work in categories. Obviously, there's film and there's print and there's digital, and there's now something called cyber, because digital, what is digital and where does web fit and where does social fit, and those lines in themselves, those categories are more and more difficult to define. But agencies, companies submit their work, and experts judge, and there's a lot of debate in the judging room around what does the future of communication look like, and then award not only the most creative, funny, fantastic advertising, but the ads or the communication that defines the future of where we're going. And so I was, based on my history as a scientist and my many years of experience in healthcare, was asked to judge the pharma category, which is a place where we see this convergence very clearly, because pharma and is very much a clinical science, and so the science and the communication come to bear very much in the pharma category. But the type of work that I saw was truly mind-blowing. So a lot of virtual reality, a lot of AI. So the virtual reality piece that won at Cannes was called, there were two. One was called VR Vaccine. And there was a lot of virtual reality, but some of it was for the sake of virtual reality, where you can do the same thing in the real world as you can virtually. But VR Vaccine, and again, we can post the link, is a fabulous piece of communication out of Mexico, where a child wears a virtual reality headset, and a nurse has an app on a phone, and she follows the story on her phone. And instead of a child having absolute fear over vaccination, he or she watches this beautiful story where there's a little elf or a fairy with a red fiery stone, and at the moment that the nurse in the story, the red fiery stone touches the child, the nurse injects the vaccine, and it's all it's an imaginary virtual world where the process of vaccination is just turned into a moment of delight as opposed to a moment of pain. And I mean, that's a fun one, but in a very serious context, we're looking at things like virtual reality for things like phantom limb syndrome, where veterans or people have lost limbs and have enormous amounts of pain because the nerves still send signals around technologies that are coming into the world of communication. A piece that I absolutely, sorry, Peter. Yeah.
No. I know. There's a lot that you want to say about this, but I want to ask you, while we're talking about this vaccination thing, I think that the piece that won the pharma section was something called the immunity charm, right?
Exactly.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so while there was so much tech, AI, and virtual reality and data, the immunity charm was the lowest tech, simplest idea, but it really was the piece that every judge was going to down a sword for and say that this is communication at its best. And I encourage all of you who are listening and watching to go and Google immunity charm. It's a piece that came out of Afghanistan. And again, it's for vaccination. You can tell how important vaccination is in healthcare because it's, one of the critical steps to good health. And in so many people in the world, we're still not getting childhood vaccination right. So in Afghanistan, where there's war and children are moving from city to city or town to town, and doctors are not the same doctors that they've seen before, mothers can't remember what the child's vaccination schedule was. They have a cultural symbol, which is a little beaded bracelet that has an evil eye on it, and it wards off the evil eye. It's a cultural, every child that's born gets this little beaded bracelet. So they use the beaded bracelet as a vaccine schedule data visualization piece. So first vaccine child goes and they get a red bead and it means polio or whatever the first vaccine is. I should be more au fait with that, but I'm not. And so on and so forth. They go to the next hospital or their town is bombed and they walk and they go to the local clinic and the clinic sister's been trained that this child has had polio because there's a red bead on their immunity charm and so on and so forth. We joked in the jury room that it was the ultimate wearable. And it really is. And it won every award in our category because it was a simple data visualization device. It was a piece of communication from mother to nurse, from doctor to mother, from nurse to doctor. So when you think about communication and how one simple beaded bracelet can do so much, in the world of tech, it reminds us that the simple idea and simplicity always wins the day.
So tell me, that's really awesome. And these things that we've spoken about here, what I'm going to do is and if you've got the links, I am going to drop these links into the comments so people can actually see, all this. But talk to me about Meet Graham. What was that about?
Okay, so Meet Graham is an Australian campaign, a very interesting campaign. You either love it or you don't. And there was much debate about it, but it won many awards at Cannes this year. And what it was is a beautiful example of what I've just described, of this merge of multiple skills. Medical scientists came to the party, data analysts around drunken driving and traffic incidents, deaths on the road in Australia. It was commissioned by the Australian Road Commission, and what they did was almost a PR stunt, but using a lot of scientific data, created what a human being would look like if they were to survive a car crash. If a human being could survive the average car crash at the average speed, what would this human being look like? And this human being was Graham, and he had the most grotesque features. You actually have to Meet Graham up. But they took this model of Graham, both virtually and physically, around Australia and taught children that we're actually not able to survive car crashes, because if we were, this is what we would have to look like. But they also anatomically dissected Graham and showed internally what your bone structure would need to be, how much fat you'd need to have. Graham had a neck, like this, with lots of folds of fat. And if you look at him, he's somewhat grotesque. But the PR value and the educational value and the shock value of Graham was awarded greatly at Cannes, because we've seen so many road accident and drunk driving commercials. But this was a scientific, analytic way to say, it's impossible, guys. Whatever you're going to do, you're not going to survive this. So look at what you have to be. And so Meet Graham was very, very successful in Australia. And obviously an issue that's, road safety is an ongoing issue.
And tell me, there was something else which I thought was also pretty interesting, and that was related to Alzheimer's.
Yeah. So Alzheimer's was a big category in our jury in Cannes, and obviously with the aging population of the world, Alzheimer's and diseases of aging become more and more important in terms of the scientific endeavors in our world, but also in communication. And there's a company called Baidu, who, again, a demonstration of convergence of skills. Baidu developed a pair of glasses which had facial and voice recognition built into the glasses to be used for Alzheimer's patients. And it used, obviously, a whole lot of Google technology. But imagine an Alzheimer's patient who puts on the glasses, and the glasses say, Mandi, this is when one of my children or my friends walks into the room that I can no longer place a name to or recognize. The glasses, through facial and voice recognition, tell me, Mandi, that this is my friend so-and-so, or my dog, or my partner. So fascinating stuff. Baidu's campaign Know You Again won gold in many categories at Cannes, not only in healthcare, but because it's the demonstration of how technology is really changing lives, changing quality of life, changing outcomes of people's lives, and helping them kind of through the diseases of aging and what life throws at us. So, and another really interesting Alzheimer's campaign was a bot. So I downloaded it. I hope I'm a good few years away from losing my memory, but there are many days where I think I might actually use my Alzheimer's bot. But it obviously learns your behavior in terms of where you live, how you maybe walk down to the shops or drive to your local grocery store. And so you can use this bot to, again, remind you. You can say, where am I, if you've lost your way, and the bot will say, you're 1 kilometer from home, turn left, using obviously navigation technology and multiple technologies to change lives. And we're seeing it every day in our tech world. It's so exciting.
So listen, you won't believe how fast half an hour has gone, but we basically almost at the top of half an hour.
And
I really think that what we need to do is we need to start this regular thing where we get someone like you to come along and keep sharing these insights with us. But I do want to ask you, perhaps in conclusion, Mandi, if you look at everything you saw at Kansas here, what is your take on where we headed as far as technology is concerned? I mean, what do you think is about to happen? From Future Work IQ's perspective, we often say to people that there's a big bang coming as far as what technology is able to do, especially related to things like augmented reality and virtual reality and artificial intelligence, all that kind of thing. But what was your take? If you had to just give, if you had to think about your kids, for example, and even yourself, what do you think, where we headed?
have to tell you a little story to kind of answer that question. When I arrived in Cannes, I had one moment before I knew I'd be in a dark room for 4 days, and I thought I would go to the beach on that moment. In that moment, so I asked the receptionist at our hotel, you know, where's the beach for this hotel? Because in Cannes, you know, the hotels own little slithers of beach. And she said to me in a very French accent, which I will not try to repeat, she said, you know, Madame Fine, Google has the beach. And I said, sorry. And when I got to the beach, literally Google had taken over the entire Cannes kind of beach. They had built their set for the week. And I think that's a demonstration of where we're going with tech. Tech is endemic in our worlds. It's the explosion has happened. We're in it. And it's just going to snowball. And yet, that said, there are kind of solutions like immunity charm that where we know that in reality, simplicity, we don't have to get overcomplicated, but where tech makes our lives simple, yes, but simplicity wins the day.
So listen, you did say to me that the Fine Group also does some change management stuff. You know, and I do want to tell you that from our experience, often when we talk to executives, especially older executives, that in many cases, you know, it's like deer that have been caught in the headlights of this massive revolution that's happening. What would you say to older executives that are needing to actually completely change their businesses actually in order to keep up with this? What would one piece of advice be from you?
I think you've got to bite the elephant one bite at a time, but the point is you got to start eating it, and you got to get the I always say when it feels overwhelming and the problem feels too big to solve, don't ask how, ask who. So who can help us get on this journey and take us through it in a way that is going to add huge value to our business in the most constructive and non kind of disruptive way. So that's my advice.
And you know, the help is there. It's not that it's not there. It's absolutely there. You know, I mean, they could pick up the phone and call Fine Group, for example. You know,
well, thanks, Peter. I hope they do that.
So I quickly wanted to ask you, Mandi. I know you write a few thought pieces regularly. Where would be the best place for people to actually connect with you so that they can keep up with what you're busy with?
Oh, that's a very good question. It's a bit like the shoemaker's children now. Now you've caught me. Well, I almost my immediate instinct would be like to say, pick up the phone. You can tell them my age. No, there are lots of places where we're online. We're on Facebook. We're on all sorts of social media. But you know, I love this forum. Thank you so much for it. But we are on all forms of social media, and we are global, and the virtual world allows us to kind of have these conversations with our clients, whether they're in Dubai or Mumbai or the UK. So we don't have to be in front of them in their offices, although it's always fabulous to have a cup of coffee with someone. We're around. Thank you so much for allowing us to share this amazing platform.
Awesome. Well, listen, I am definitely gonna come and see you at your offices to have coffee with you in person.
In person.
We'll have that conversation. So, everybody, we just want to say to Mandi, thank you for taking the time out of your Saturday to come to us. Mandi has some fantastic insights around where we're headed, and I'm sure we're going to hear more from her and the Fine Group. And you know what? I am definitely going to make a schedule, and I'm going to get people that I've spoken to before like this back on a regular basis, because I do believe that all these voices collectively create a picture for South African businesses who, in my view, are a little bit behind the curve in some instances. to actually be able to catch up and do that, you know. So Mandy, thanks a million. I really appreciate this. And for everybody who's been watching this, I know I've seen some comments here from Lisa and Linda and a couple of people. We will be watching the comments. You can ask questions. We are going to be dropping the links to some of these things that Mandy mentioned, and we will chat again. So thanks very much.
I'm delighted to have been here, and thanks to all my kind of Facebook friends and yours, Peter, for joining us. The forum is fantastic. The conversations are going to be one that's going to snowball, as we've discussed, and I'm delighted to have shared my Saturday morning. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye.